You briefly touched upon the Citi Bank project. Can you tell us a little bit about the many complex challenges you were facing in this project?
I can tell you now, I wasn't able to do that earlier, 5 years ago. It is a very complex project. Like I said, it's an existing building. It was built silo-like, floor by floor, of its time. And to turn that into a sort of modern day space that would also last for a lot longer for an end user was very exciting. We didn't see it as constraints. We saw it as actually a really positive opportunity. And we really, when we did the competition and the concept, we really went for it. We were also very lucky that the client was really, really engaged. And that made that sort of, because the project was going to be complex regardless, but it was a very positive. It is very difficult to design in what is there. But because it was one of the first buildings that were going to be reused, because Battersea was a shell and we were going to fill it with wonderful things, which we have done beautifully. This one you had to put in what you took out, but in a much better way. And because it was the sort of first time, we actually didn't have a lot of precedent examples. Citi had done a project in New York before, so we did go to see that. But they had already learned from that and said, we want another layer now. So I would nearly think, in a sort of strange way, naivety was brilliant. Sometimes it goes a long way, and we just discussed that. I was on site the other day. Would we have dared to do all of these big moves if we had known? Probably not. We would have been maybe a little bit more careful. But actually it worked. We have got good contractors, we have great engineers and everything. So it is a challenge to also have a building site, which is not a building site, which is a building, which is, I think sometimes early on we didn't even think about. But you know, there's nothing outside, it's all within the building. The amount of work you require and to just make the building ready for a retrofit or refit, and then the sort of infrastructure that you need to put in to create a building site to then create the new.
So a lot of technical challenges as
well. And structural challenges, because it's all internal. And the retrofit for Citi Bank is a complete sort of, they call it a deep energy one, where everything gets done. So it's been a very interesting challenge.
I can imagine.
And especially we have facades, new facades at the base of the building, at the middle of the building, and at the top, but not in between. So that is obviously a challenge, but I think we rose to it.
I understand that you worked with a concept called vertical communities. That sounds very interesting.
Well, it's come back to what we started earlier. This, if we're going to have, I don't know, take 8,000, 10,000 people, how do they live? They live, when I talk about a person, they live in a home. If I talk about a group, they live in a town. So we created these vertical villages and communities that also make the tower, the old-fashioned towers of the 90s, 80s, where the executives sit at the top, everybody sits in there, and at the bottom you have a big lobby. Somewhere there's a bit of food. And if you're lucky, at one point there was a gym. So we inherited a tower also that had 42 stories, but we did not add a single new lift shaft. So it was a holistic design where we changed things around. So we put something that's called the high street in the middle of the tower. So people do not come from the top to the bottom to get a sandwich. They go to the middle. And then we've created winter garden for the fresh air, so people can step out. You don't have to leave. That also helps the lifting strategy, because you don't have, 8,000 people just moving in one direction. And the next thing was, so you have a high street. What else do you need? You need a village. So every 3 floors connected, they have a village center. And everybody knows that in this village center, there is a bigger coffee offering. There is an agora where people can gather. So, but they're always a bit different. So if you change jobs within that building, you don't get repetitive. It's a different village. And it's just creating these collaboration village areas that allow people to work differently, to meet up, to learn from others, and maybe to be next to a department that you normally don't talk to.
Exactly.
And you meet at the coffee area.
So people are moving around the building in a whole different way.
In a whole different way. So 3 floors can always walk.
Yeah.
And big openings. So it was always a bit of the joke of why are we taking so much area away? But because it was end user, we could.
Yeah.
And they bought into it. And so it's a whole town. And in the village, in the middle, the high street connects to well-being, so the gym. And all of those positive spaces are actually in the middle of the tower for the best views.
Wow.
So
this concept was really key.
This was really key.
Nice.
It was from the first sketches that you still see to now, and we've managed to keep it.
Fantastic. Are you able to follow the project all the way through to completion?
Yes.
Wow. That's nice.
It's
not always you are actually allowed to do that.
No, we are on it from beginning to end. Yeah. Which is also a great learning curve. You know, we have a lot of young architects as well that learn immensely on these projects.